My dear boys and girls, particularly I'm trying to address my dear boys of university and colleges. Today I would like to discuss one of the most important phenomena. It's a phenomenal thing, and that is communication skill. Communication skill plays a significant role, vital role to boost your future. In this context, I would like to communicate one thing. There are two fields, for instance, engineering and doctoring. Is that clear? And it's parallel of, if we try to communicate, that parallel of these two things is communication skill. Today, those who hold communication skill, they are called media anchor, and they are earning millions of rupees. They are not only earning millions of rupees, but they are very honorable, successful, and given a lot of respect and things like that. So this is one of the cherishing field, and it will try to make your future prosperous, brilliant, thriving, and whatnot. If you try to adopt this thing, and on top of that, one thing is obvious: if you make a practice and practice of anything, you will become a master of excellence. So today, I would like to tell you about communication skill. Communication skill is very much important in our, not only in our day-to-day affair, but also when we want to go for an interview. We find that this communication skill can take you to the word of zenith, to the word of success, and where you feel that sky is the limit. So I would like to give you the example of that of the two students. One, who is a topper, a man of distinction. Second, an average student. If we try to compare an average student and that of the topper, then definitely there is no comparison. There is no comparison between a topper, a man of distinction, and average student. But the thing becomes very topsy-turvy, uneven, disequilibrium when both go for an interview, CSS interview. For instance, I would like to communicate. Everyone knows that a man of distinction, a man of topper, can hold very good position over in competition, in interview. But everyone is of the opinion that an average student cannot. But the thing becomes very topsy-turvy. But the thing becomes very uneven when a topper don't have the skill of communication. He cannot impress his interviewer. He cannot impress his subject of specialization in front of the interviewer. Then his life becomes very uneven. Whereas on the other hand, an average student who has a lot of practice, he gets a lot of respect over there because he knows how to communicate, how to express his subject of specialization and the other question which the examiner are trying to ask. So there is a difference. I am of the opinion communication skill plays a very much important role. Again, I have given you the example that our media anchor, they are earning millions of rupees, and on top of that they have got a lot of success, victory and whatnot. They are given very much importance. So they are called one of the most cherishing people of our society, of our country. Then comes another thing. Because I am of the opinion practice. Practice makes a man perfect. I would like to give the example of two hands. We have two hands, okay? Our dominative hand and our passive hand. Our dominative hand can write down anything which we are trying to ask him. For instance, he write down article, book, essay, or whatever we try to give him, that option, he will try to write down because he has a lot of practice. But if we ask our left hand to write down equal to that of right hand, but your left hand can't do it. That is a problem. That is a great problem. It is because of the fact if your right hand have a lot of practice, nothing but the practice. But your left hand doesn't have any kind of practice. But if your left hand tries to write down, he cannot. Your passive hand cannot. It is because of the fact that he has no practice. So if we start giving practice to our left hand and equal to that of, a day will come when we are equal to that of right hand. So practice, and practice. That plays one of the most important roles. Again, I'm of the opinion, learning this foreign language is not difficult. If you feel any kind of hesitation, if you feel any kind of shyness, you can feel shyness when you speak your mother tongue. But you shouldn't feel shyness when you are trying to speak the English language. And we are bound to practice English language. It is because of the colonial hangover. So the thing is that over here, it's quite clear that as I have pointed out, that your right hand and left hand practice and things like that. Now comes another thing. I would like to use the two words, mechanic and driver. I would like to explain what is mechanic, what is driver. The role of mechanic is to set apart the parts of car, separate the part of car, and then he can join it. But if we asked that of a mechanic to drive a car, he can't do it. This is the job of a driver. So don't try to become the mechanic of English language and try to become the driver of English language. Now what is this? I would like to explain this term. When we say mechanic of this language, mean one thing. And what is that? You shouldn't try to become the mechanic of English language. Mechanic over here means don't try to use bombastic words, showy words. For instance, self-ostentation, self-glorification, bonhomie, these kind of words, which are very difficult. To some extent, you can impress the interviewer, you can impress the other, but you cannot impress all time to come. So try to avoid using difficult words. So stop using words and start using sentences. Again, I'm of the opinion, stop learning words and start learning sentences. And these sentences, when you utilize into different occasions, for instance, if you are in a cafeteria, if you are in a bus, if you are in a school room, if you are in a university room, and if you are in the classroom and you are trying to discuss about any topic that you can discuss, you can easily communicate. It is because of the fact that you have a lot of practice. So one thing is obvious, try to become the driver of English language. Don't try to become the mechanic of English language. So that plays one of the most important roles. So I am of the opinion, how you can learn this language? You can learn this language naturally. I would like to give the example. A child learns this language. Is that clear? Naturally. And what is naturally? When a child born, we don't give him a book of literature. We don't give him a book of vocab. We don't give him dictionary. We definitely don't give these kind of things. But the thing is that he learns this language naturally. He learns from his parent. He learns from his brother. He learns from his sister. He learns from his society. He learns from his surrounding. And then after 3 to 4 years, he becomes the competent and he can very easily communicate, that in this language. So he doesn't feel any kind of hesitation. He doesn't feel any kind of shyness. So I am of the opinion that grown up should try to behave like a man of child, 3 year to 4 year child. A child doesn't have any kind of shyness. A child doesn't have any kind of hesitation. A child doesn't have any kind of problem. So try to behave like a child. Don't try to feel any kind of problem. Don't think that your ego is going to be hurt. You don't try to think on that pattern. If you try to think on that pattern, then definitely you will get a lot of success. So a lot of victory and a lot of things like that. So these things are very much important. For instance, if you fail to fail, at the cost of failure, you will get success. And if somebody try to laugh you, let them laugh. Allow them laugh. Make your thick skin. Make your skin thick. And if somebody are trying to laugh you, then let them laugh. Allow them laugh. It is because of the fact that when you don't try to be hesitant, you will try to learn a lot of things. So behave like a child. Child doesn't have any kind of ego. You shouldn't try to have any kind of ego. Child doesn't any kind of have shyness. You shouldn't try to behave like that. So these are the things which are very important. And on top of that, what is the role of communication skill? Communication skill mean to convince others. And sometimes it so happen we cannot convince ourselves. If we want to convince ourselves, that is difficult job. So there are two things in front of us, being an employer or being an employee. So if you are intelligent enough and if you have a lot of communication skill, you can convince yourself that these two fields, which one the better field. Okay. So you think over here that job of an employer is better as compared to job of an employee. Now what is that? When you try to become employer, you feel a lot of problems, a lot of stress, a lot of suffocation, a lot of things like that. But if you try to utilize your energy, your power, your sagacity, your wisdom, your enlightenment, your cognitive skill, your craftsmanship, your experience of life, then you can transform your failure into success. So you should try to utilize your brain, your intelligence, your prudence. If you try to utilize these kind of things, then definitely success will come to you. So you shouldn't try to feel any kind of problem and thing like that. So one thing is obvious, that try to become the employer. The role of employer is that he is free. Nothing kind of liberation, nothing kind of captivity, nothing kind of serfdom, nothing kind of bondage. You are free, your mind is free, you can think freely. And if you can think freely, then definitely you will get success. And on top of that, if you try to become the employee, employee have no choice. An employee have a very limited resources. And on top of that, this time of competition, in this time, if you don't have money, you cannot cope up with your amenities of life. So money is one of the most important things. We shouldn't try to deny the importance of money. If we don't want to deny this thing, then definitely we will try to think on the basis of becoming employer. And you should try to, you are only the one who can convince yourself that it is better to be employer as compared to the employee. Employee is a man of serfdom. Employee is a man of, out of slave. He cannot improve. It is because of the fact he cannot do anything against his boss, where he is trying to serve him. So that is the thing which is very important. So try to analyze. Sometimes, again I'm of the opinion, sometimes it will happen that you cannot convince. You can convince others, but sometimes you cannot convince yourself. And if you have a communication skill, if you have intelligence, if you have prudence, then definitely you can convince, and your future will be prosperous, thriving, successful, shining, brilliant, and whatnot. So try to become, that of a successful man. I would like to give you the example. Today everyone try to become the doctor. Everyone is trying to adopt the doctoring profession or engineering. But I'm of the opinion, if you analyze this thing, if you practice, that of a communication skill, then definitely you will become a man of success, man of brilliant. And again, in the end, I am of the opinion. Earlier you say that I live with my parent, but now you will say that my parents are living with me. It is because of the fact that you are employer. It is because of the fact that you have adopted this instrument, that is communication skill. So communication skill plays a very vital role. Again, I'm of the opinion you are liberal. A news anchor are liberal. They are not slave of anybody. They are bound to, there are two kind of, that of a news anchor who are trying to have job, whereas on the other hand, mostly anchor are free from all kind of bondage and liberal and that of slavery. So they are lot of rupees, lot of million rupees. And in this context, if you adopt this thing, then definitely you will get lot of success, lot of victory and things like that.